Hey, I'm back. First video I've done in several months, and I'm probably going to be a little rusty, so bear with me. But anyway, I thought about doing a video, sort of kind of a catch me up kind of thing for all those who are interested. What I did on my YouTube sabbatical video, talking about some movies and movies I'd seen and books that I read that I thought were noteworthy. But instead, I decided to do a video about a movie that I just saw called Let Me In. Now, Let Me In, as most of you may or may not know, is based on the very popular foreign film Let the Right One In. It is the Americanized remake. And let me start by just saying that I'm completely biased toward the original film. Let the Right One In had a huge impact on me. I found it quite moving, and just absolutely love that film. I've yet to read the book that it's based on. I will eventually. I just want to start by saying that. Let Me In is the Americanized version of that. Now, of course, Americanized remakes of popular foreign movies are really sort of hit and miss. I mean, generally, the reason why foreign film really sort of hits here in the States is because it's different. It takes risks. It's not just the usual sort of watered-down drivel that we get here most of the time in the American cinemas. What they do with that movie when they Americanize it is they make it watered-down drivel, just like everything else out there. Take The Vanishing, case in point. But then there's also movies like The Ring, which I actually think the American version of that is superior to the Japanese version. Whatever. I'm happy to say that Let Me In is not watered down drivel. It's sort of the plot is your classic boy meets girl story. However, the girl in this case, Abby, is a 12-year-old who's really several hundred years old, maybe, vampire. So it's problematic to say the least. The young man, Owen, is sort of a painfully awkward, shy, ostracized boy who's tormented at school. His parents are in the midst of a divorce. Things aren't going very good for him. He seems like he's sort of the kind of kid who one day along the line is going to lash out at his tormentors in a very unproductive manner. And then he meets Abby, who's just moved into his apartment building, and she walks around in the snow barefooted, so that's quite intriguing. That seems to intrigue him. And she smells pretty bad, which also more or less intrigues him. So he realizes sort of right off the bat that there's something not quite right about her, yet that sort of attracts him to her. From there, the story progresses. They form a relationship. They form a bond. People in the neighborhood are winding up dead, completely drained of blood. The police think there's a satanic cult operating in the neighborhood, and so on. So, what I'll say about the movie is, like with the original, the heart and soul is the connection, the bond between the two leads, Owen and Abby. The movie really rides on their performances, and both performances are great. Abby, played by Chloe Moritz, who played Hit Girl, in Kick-Ass. She's clearly very, very talented. She brings a sort of sadness to the part, and a maturity, because she's supposed to be, you know, she says, I'm 12, more or less. She doesn't say exactly, you know, she doesn't really know how old she is, it doesn't seem like, but we're going to guess pretty old, trapped in a 12-year-old body, having to move around constantly with this guy who she says is her father, but really he sort of goes out during the day or at night and strings people up and bleeds them to death and takes the blood home in a jug and she drinks it. Her performance is fantastic. She's definitely a great young actress. Owen, what is his name? I've forgotten his name. I'm sorry. Another great performance. He brings an air of innocence with an edge. Like I said, there's something, you know, there's something building in him because of all this conflict in his house and the torment at school and stuff, and the fact that he's a little disturbed, I think. So that he's innocent with an edge. There's something in him that's kind of not right either. That's building. And you know, their connection, their bond, like I was talking about, is it feels true, just like in the original film. You can buy into it. It's touching. It's moving. There's the same sort of atmosphere, that air of it's a brooding, wintry, cold atmosphere that was in the original. The movie was directed very well by Matt Reeves, who directed Cloverfield. It's a really well made movie. It's particularly well acted. What this movie does is it sort of streamlines the original. There's some sort of subplots in the original film that you could say weren't really necessary. That's just sort of slowed the movie down. I didn't mind them. I think some people did, and those parts were either sort of removed entirely or really truncated, which is not to the detriment of the movie in any way. You know, it did what it's a true remake in that it took the source material, it took the best parts of the source material, transplanted it into this film, threw in a few things to make it that were different, to make it original, but it kept what worked, and it's not watered down. It's not watered down. They did throw in a lot of, I mean, there's some sort of, there's a lot of CGI, well, not a lot, but I mean, there's some CGI in the movie that is kind of not necessary. I don't know, every movie today's got to have some wacky CGI in it, and most of it just looks really dubious. That aside, that's not a big problem, though. But I mean, it's the bottom line is it's a great movie. Is it as good? Is the impact the impact as palpable as it was in Let the Right One In? No. Again, admittedly, I am biased toward that movie. I sort of, and I mean, I know where it's gonna go and what's gonna happen, because it's a very faithful remake as well, which I saw from the trailer. There were a lot of scenes from the trailer that were just transplanted directly from the original movie, and I enjoyed, you know, I liked that fact. It didn't pretend like, you know, the original didn't exist, or that it, you know, it was completely rewriting the rules, which we see a lot in remakes today of horror movies. They sort of want to pretend that, you know, the series that they're milking didn't happen, which is odd, or they're not necessarily pretending that they didn't happen, but they're just taking a big dump all over, really. This did not do that, and I was very appreciative of that. I think Matt Reeves, who wrote the screenplay and directed it, was clearly a fan of the original and knew that there were a lot of people who were big fans of the original and was respectful of them and of the source material. So definitely big round of applause to him. This movie does what all great movies are supposed to do. It makes you think, and it moves you, and it makes you think and it makes you feel, and I'm guilty of both. Therefore, by definition alone, this is a great movie. Go see it, and then go let the right one in, or vice versa. I think if you haven't seen Let the Right One In and you watch Let Me In, you'll feel, that you may have the same sort of reaction that I had to Let the Right One In, as far as the emotional impact of the film, as far as how moving I thought it was. So I'm trying to think of other, and not give too much away, although I have given quite a bit away already. One thing that I thought was kind of disheartening about both versions of the movie was, think of, in this case, in this film, his name's Owen, our protagonist. Think about his future. Where's he going to be, and what's he going to be doing in 10, 15, 20 years, and history repeating itself and stuff like that. It's just kind of a bleak prospect for him, really. I don't know. It's I think about that and I'm just kind of like, ugh, poor guy. But again, it's what great movies do. So definitely, is it as good as the original? To me, no. Is it still worth watching? Absolutely. It's a pretty good flick. It's a pretty good / great flick, I would say. So definitely go check it out. And I just want to close this video by saying that, and thanking the people who, during my hiatus, wrote messages or private messages, or wrote on my wall, or not my wall, but my profile, or commented in old videos saying, hey man, come back, where you been, what you doing? Always good to know that what you do is appreciated, and you want more. So thank you, and again, go check out Let Me In. Really good flick, well made, very well performed, and then go rent Let the Right One In. So anyway, until next time, and hopefully it won't be another 4 months interim in between videos, but I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, thanks for continuing to care, and until next time,